Yes, we're live. Here we are. Cool. So we'll see if anybody comes or if anybody's out with their dates. Oh, hi.
Hey, everybody.
These are all the people that couldn't get a date tonight, so they come to see us instead.
Hey, that's me. I have a date. I got a musician friend and we're going to hang out tonight.
Okay.
It was funny. I reached out to him like, "Hey, you want to hang out?" And cause I'm single and I'm not dating
Yeah,
anybody. And
yeah.
it was pretty funny cause I totally forgot it was Valentine's Day. And then I think his date fell through. So, uh, I'm going to bring my keyboard and I'm trying to learn, harmonica.
Oh,
So
wow.
I'm
Clever.
gonna just have him try to teach me how to play, and we're just gonna jam out for a bit.
Oh, that'd be good. Yeah, I'm saying nobody's got a date, but of course it's morning over there. You're not going to be going on a date in the morning. I'm going because
Unless
here
it's like an
it's
all day thing.
here it's 5:30, so people would be getting ready to go out. So I'm sorry if I've insulted anybody. And I saw Kalpana, my friend Kalpana said hi. So hi. Okay, so this is part two. So if anybody's watching, they haven't seen part one, don't go off and watch it now, but watch it afterwards. And if you're watching the replay, maybe you can press pause and go and watch the first one and then come back to this one. But yeah, so we are finishing off basically the story of Mac. Um, so I'm Sue Reid. If you don't know me, I'm Sue Reid. My publication is Confidence Matters, and I am a confidence coach, and obviously also write on Substack. And in my previous life, I was 40 odd years in retail banking. And do you want to say, if anybody doesn't know you, Mac, who you are?
Yeah, so my name is Mac Dohm. My publication's Porn Free Millennial here on Substack, and I have a podcast as well called Porn Free Millennial. And I started that. That was kind of part one. Well, part one a little bit was talking about like my childhood, leading up to the divorce that I had. I was in a 5 year marriage, and yeah, I started my Substack like really writing a few months after the divorce papers finalized. It was actually something that actually made my Substack while I was married, because I was doing really well with recovery. I was really fired up about it, because it was something I struggled with since I was 10 years old. And I'm 34. And I'd say like I really started my recovery pretty much like 6 to 8 months within my marriage, when I think I was 27, 28. But yeah, so I basically resurrected my Substack because I was like, hey, this is something that I need to talk about.
Yeah.
A big part of it really is just to share perspectives on it, because I went through and my ex wife went through just a terrible time, towards the end, and I really saw what my relationship to porn did to our marriage, and
Mm,
also, I mean, with your podcast theme, right, confidence. I felt like my confidence was completely destroyed going through that because I had to come to terms with, I think, just some blind spots in my life that uh, really sometimes I use the analogy like debt, like
mm,
it's like you're using a credit card and you're not really paying off the balance. So your debt keeps going up and up and up. When you're keeping things secret that are harmful both to you and your partner, your spouse, whoever it is that you're intimate with, or if you're single, it's something that will eventually be something that might affect your relationship.
mm,
So it was, I think when all that came due, I think that's kind of where we ended last podcast. It was just really devastating, because it really felt like the person I thought I was, wasn't the person. Like I wasn't the person I thought I was, basically.
mm,
And I really had to come to terms with that, and it was really tough because I think if you can do that over time, right, and you can chip away at it, I think that's one thing, and I was doing that in a certain sense because I was doing recovery and I was learning a lot of things that we talked about last podcast and a lot of practices, but there was just still some things there in my life that I just didn't quite have handled or like the maturity around it. So yeah, long story short, that's why I write on Substack. I mean, I work a corporate 9 to 5 job. I work in insurance. I've been in the same company for 10 years,
mm.
and I do business process design there. But the cool thing is, and maybe we can dive into it. We'll probably dive into it more in this podcast. Is my lifestyle because right now I'm not in my RV, my camper. But after I got divorced, actually, that was like one of the first things that I did once the papers were signed was I bought a big RV that has two pop outs. So it's a big one that you drive. And basically, I have Starlink, so I work remotely. Right now, I'm with family, and I'm just kind of getting some routines in order and saving a little bit of money. But
Mhm.
hopefully, I'll get back on the road. The joke here, I live in Colorado in the U.S., right? And we were talking about weather before the podcast started, but uh, typically, I mean, I don't know. The winters here are kind of weird. We've been praying for snow. We finally got some in the mountains yesterday, but I was kind of making a joke of like, hey, when the weather gets all snowy in the winter, I'll head down to like Arizona or something. And the weather's been so nice here, so
Yeah.
it's kind of like, when am I going to do that? But anyways, yeah. So I do work remotely from the RV, and it's been pretty cool. So I've been doing that for close to 3 years now.
Yeah. Yeah, so I just wanna go back to something you said, just to pick up on it. You said, I realized I wasn't the person I thought I was." So I'm wondering who you thought you were.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, I would say when I was growing up and, how I was raised by my parents, I was always told to look somebody in the eyes, shake their hand. My dad, has a legendary handshake. He has giant hands. I've got pretty big hands. My dad's fingers are like the width of like his
Wow.
one finger, like he has giant hands.
Yeah.
So I learned like the how to have a firm handshake from him because I just have to survive a handshake from him. But,
Mhm.
I learned that, right? I learned how to respect people and to be honest, and I grew up in a Catholic school. I was really into it too. I remember when I was a little kid, I thought preschool was priest school. So I thought I thought I was gonna become a priest. I actually did some homilies in front of my family. There's some old videos of me doing some homilies like I'm a priest. So I was really into it. My uncle actually, he works near the Vatican. He's a Catholic priest. So I feel like, I had a lot of those things ingrained in me of, like, being honest, and, I think my friends and my family always knew me as somebody that was really dependable. Like, I
Mm,
was pretty dependable with a lot of things, and I did my best. Like, I feel like I was always somebody like, one of my friends told me one time, he's like, we were in college and we were running up some stairs or something, and I kinda slowed down for a second, and the guy looked back, my best friend, and he's like, "You never give up." On
mm,
anything. Like, you're always, like, pushing it, and you're always, like, giving it your all. So I think, when I was going into my marriage and when I was courting my ex-wife, like, I felt so confident in myself, right? And I had a blind spot, though, with porn, right? Because porn was that thing in my life that even though on the outside people were always like, "Hey, you're super dependable, Mac, and, you're trustworthy." Like, I always felt trustworthy, like, people could always tell me things, and I would never, like, tell anyone's secrets. But the whole time, like, I was keeping a secret myself, right? Which ended up
mm,
being a really important one because when it came up in the marriage, you know, uh, really to my ex-wife's credit, she's amazing. I mean, she just didn't put up with it. She's like, "Hey, like, we're married, and, uh, we're married, under God, and like, what are your values?" Because for me, I was just being sneaky, and I gaslit her, and I talked about that a little bit in the last
mm,
podcast. Like, when I first got caught with it, it was really like the first time I was really approached. Like parents, like my parents here and there would say stuff, but it wasn't never anything like super like big talk or anything like that. To where it didn't really even come up till, like, my marriage, I felt like. It was, like, the
mm,
first time, like, a woman that I was with, like, really cared about it and felt hurt by it and felt betrayed by it, and I just had no, like, education or tools, or my mindset was just so warped to where I got really defensive. I made a note, I think it was yesterday, talking about how, like, porn at best in when I look back at it, that relationship, it felt like Stockholm syndrome. Like, I was, protecting and defending
mm,
the vampire that was feeding on me and
mm,
really feeding on our intimacy, on our marriage, on something that's really sacred. So I think that is, like, the answer to, like, coming to the realization that I wasn't quite who I thought I was. Because for me, I'm like, yeah, like, I never had any problems with, like, women when I was married or ever in a relationship, right? Like, it was always like when I was getting into a relationship, if I was talking to multiple women, I would just stop talking to whoever I was talking to if I got into a relationship. Like, that's it. Like,
mm,
there's no like, I'm loyal to you. So that's like how I thought going into this marriage is like, hey, I'm loyal to you, right? And I was until I wasn't with porn because it was such a separated thing in my mind where I
Mm,
compartmentalized it and I put it over in this separate box to be like, that's just my thing. That's
mm,
just my problem. I think that's typically what people that are struggling with porn. That's normally a justification that comes through is this is my problem. Like I'll deal with it.
mm,
But unfortunately, I think with relationships, I just think it's contradictory. It's kind of hypocritical in my mind because I lived it, right? Like I'm not
yeah,
casting judgment because I lived through it. Uh, so yeah, that's a little bit of the answer there where it was a big wake up call for me. It's where I was like, whoa, like I've got a lot of work to do right now. And I'm behind the eight ball a little bit.
mm. So you knew that it was wrong. So do you think, because shame, when you're ashamed of something, shame, it kind of encourages you to hide it because it says that you are this bad person, and particularly because of your faith, growing up in a Catholic school. And you, on the one hand, there's Mac, who, like you say, is honest and trustworthy and, loyal. And so all these good
Mhm.
things with the great handshake, which, when people feel a strong handshake, they feel that you're trustworthy. It's somebody that they can relate to. Automatically you send a signal through your subconscious to say this is a trustworthy person, so a handshake is important. So you've got all of those things going for you, but then you've got this dirty little secret as well. And shame makes you say, right, you can't show this to anybody. This is our thing. This is what we do over here. You need to keep it to yourself. So when your wife found out, this is now breaking in on that secret. It's saying, right, now I know your secret as well. And she's the person that you're supposed to be loyal to, be protecting, be, you know, the good side of you. She doesn't want to see the bad side of you, although that a marriage is both sides, isn't it? It's the good and bad. You have to accept what comes. But that's kind of I don't know, a red line. I mean, I'm rambling a little bit because it's coming out of my
Yeah,
brain, but do you see what I'm saying? You're
totally.
defensive because shame doesn't want anybody to know this. It wants you to stay in the shadows, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think it's also just coming to terms that, like, I was in the wrong, right? Because I think,
Mhm.
that can happen in marriage too, right? To where it can get into, like, that tit for tat thing, right? To where somebody might hold something over your head or vice versa, and I think for me, just early on in marriage and being young, right? Being in my late 20s, I think, it was just something that I didn't slow down enough really in the moment to, like, think through it because I think, I did a really good podcast, 2 of them with, Jeannie. I've done a few with Jeannie Hoskin. She's really great. She's a counselor, and we were talking one of our podcasts is about emotional intelligence and how it gets stunted,
Mm,
with porn, and I really buy into that idea because I think, at least for me, looking at myself, I just, I look back at it's kinda cringeworthy sometimes, right? Where I'm just like, "Oh my gosh, like, how was I that, like, blunt about it? Like, how did I not see where she was coming from?"
mm,
And I think that's what porn does in the mind bit, right? Because you're so used to the woman being subservient to the man and basically getting whatever you want whenever you want it. And then when somebody calls you out on it and somebody that you love, I think that's the hardest thing too is when you hurt somebody that you love and, uh, and you don't really have the tools, the perception, or the experience to really deal with it. I think oftentimes we get defensive about it, and it's almost like, "Well, now you're attacking me, and you think I'm a bad person," and all this stuff instead of just saying, "I'm sorry," and, "Hey,
mm,
I'm gonna figure this out," and I think that was I think something that started off, like, really rocky and really rough in the relationship, and I think that came up later times, right? To where it would just be that repeated reminder of, "Oh, I can't trust you with this," or "You're not
mm,
telling the truth," or, uh and I think women have sometimes I think women a lot of the times have a different vantage point and a perspective on it, which makes a lot of sense because of, I think, women's roles by society. There's so much that has to do with like the beauty standards and the
yeah.
comparison, and you have to look a certain way, you have to be a certain way. And I think when you're married and your man does this, it's very reasonable to me and logical for women to feel really hurt by that and
Yeah.
to feel like, you don't think I'm beautiful, you don't think I'm attractive. Where again, from a guy's point of view, it's like, and that's like where it's like there's like two ships kind of like crossing, and they're
Mm.
not really seeing each other to where it makes it tough if a man doesn't uh kind of put himself in the shoes of the woman and where she's coming from,
Mm.
then it's going to come off really bad to her because it's going to be like you're kind of attacking her for really calling you out on your crap.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, like, and we talked about this last time that, like you say, women, we are taught from young girls that, if you want to attract a man, you've got to look like this. In fact, if you want to get anywhere in,
Right.
this world, you've got to look a certain way, you've got to act a certain way. And so by having the porn addiction, and or even when, when people have affairs, what you're basically saying, as far as the woman is concerned, is I'm not good enough for you. Like, you have to look elsewhere because I'm not the perfect wife. And so you're attacking her character, her very being. Um, and then she's confused because she's thinking, well, you married me and now you want something else. So what's wrong with me? Why haven't I turned out the way
Mhm.
you expected? Which we talked about last time. So then I think, to your wife, your ex-wife's huge credit, she stuck with you while you were trying to get out of it. And, you went into recovery quite a few times, but kept relapsing. But she stuck with you for a long, long time. Um, and I think you said last time that the final straw, was it the stag night, the stag do?
Yeah, so it's kind of
I
a
think you call
mixture.
them bachelor do's, don't you? We call them stag do's.
Yeah, so it was a mix. Like I had a relapse. I was like close to 2 years sober. We moved into our house, bought our first house together, right? As millennials, that's a pretty big deal. And I always just think back, right? Because obviously I'm moving on with my life, but I mean, really beautiful wife, beautiful family. Uh, what more could you ask for? A house near the Colorado mountainside, deer in the yard, big backyard, garden, all this stuff, right? And that's like why I try to talk about and write about the perspective because, like, really, like for me, I felt like it's like the red carpet was like rolled out, and yeah, it was just I think I started my Substack, and then I just kind of started to fall into bad habits. I got complacent. I was away from my support system. And that's a big thing for me. Like in my life, whenever I get really confident with my recovery, sometimes what I'll do is be like, okay, well, I don't need to go to group anymore, or
Mm.
I don't really need to go to therapy anymore, all this stuff. And for me, we moved about an hour and a half away from where my therapist was. We were close to almost doing EMDR, which is this really useful therapy, which we'll talk about later in the podcast as we talk about kind of my life after the divorce.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I started to do all these things and then got the house. And then I think after that honeymoon phase with the house, started to end, I had this bachelor party coming up where I was the best man and it was in Colombia. And I was just really naive going into it. Like I just didn't really think through it. And I think I wasn't really going to church. I wasn't really connected with like I think the part that really makes me the best person I can be. So I think if I was going to church and I was like more active with my spiritual life and like connected, I think I would have been a little bit more thoughtful about it. And maybe it would have been like, hey, I don't really know if I should go to this or um, just having better communication with her. But yeah, we went to Colombia and the place we were at is like prostitution's legal there. And yeah, I didn't cheat on her or anything, but I was definitely in the presence of that stuff. And I mean, I was the only married guy there, so half the thing was me trying to just get people out of trouble and make sure we weren't robbed, and, there was cartel people. It was a kind of a crazy place to be, honestly, and, I just got back, when I got back, it was just talking through that with her and then coming clean with the relapse I had, like, about a month before I left, and it just felt like all the progress we were making, like, it was, like, pretty devastating,
Mm.
because I think in her mind, it is just, like, all the work we were doing, and still, I think, when it comes to recovery, right, I think healing is not linear, and I think a lot of times, speaking from a guy's perspective, I think we expect, like, our wife or girlfriend to, heal, like, kind of how we are healing, and I think it's a lot different. I think it takes a lot more time for
Yeah,
women because it
yeah.
just it's just a different thing for them, really, and,
Rebuild the trust again.
yeah, rebuild the trust, and so it was just, like, one of those perfect storm kinda moments, I think, and, yeah, that was when I mean, it was just really bad. I mean, I just remember just the conversations that we had, and, uh, that was when I felt like I didn't wanna, like, move on anymore with my life. I don't know if I talked about that. I think we might have ended around there last podcast, but
I think we did, yeah.
yeah, the divorce word came up, and I just felt like the complete like, everything was crashing down on me
Mhm.
in, like, the marriage, and, yeah, and then that's when I got reintegrated into therapy, into church, was really have it I had my come to Jesus moment. I know people talk about it. I know not everyone in here is religious, but just speaking from my point of view, like, uh, I think I had COVID too.
Right.
It was just a real mess, and I think my dog had, lice, and we were trapped in a room together, and it was I mean, honestly, it was, like, the most embarrassing thing you could think about. Like, it was just I just
Mhm,
felt, like, so pathetic and weak, and I was crying, and I just remember saying, like, "What does it matter anymore?" I just kept saying that, and it was really interesting because 'cause I've never really had that in my life, you know? I felt like I've always been pretty steady and, never really felt, like, depressed or anything.
mhm,
In that moment, it just felt like it was coming out of me. It was, almost like I didn't really even have control. These words were just coming out, you know?
mm,
I didn't think about these words, they just came out of me because I really was like, you know, like, I felt, like, really defeated
It's
because
like
I
rock
just
bottom, yeah,
yeah, and I think the shame was overwhelming, right? Because it's like,
yeah,
"Hey, I put in all this work," you know, I was gonna do stuff for Free Millennial back then, and just feeling really, motivated and all this stuff, and then this happens, right? Uh, so, yeah, that was really, I think, kind of like it was more kinda just, the straw that broke the camel's back. I think there was a
yeah,
lot of things that added up to it, but I think that's the hard thing, and I think that happens a lot in divorces. I think porn's a lot bigger part of divorces than people probably like to talk about.
mm,
But I think for me, when I think about it, it undermines trust, right?
yeah,
Because inherently within it, it's typically something that you do secretly. You do in a dark room at night,
mhm,
typically when the other person's sleeping, and then you just hide it. And I think in its own right, like you could talk about porn or you could talk about anything else, but if you're doing that in secret and it's not something that is like beneficial, it's not like I was secretly like building her something beautiful or
yeah,
whatever. I know I was secretly being selfish and I think escaping, you know, escaping, numbing. That was typically for me what porn was. But I think when that happens, I think when trust breaks down, like everything else breaks down, right? Because I think your sex life, it like trust is like the foundation of it. Like
mm,
how can you have a good sex life if you don't really trust the person
exactly.
or you feel because like that's the most intimate you can ever be with somebody.
Yeah,
Like that's the most like you're naked. So it's like everything's out there. And if you feel deep down inside like I don't really trust that they think I'm beautiful or that
mm,
they're gonna choose me, it hurts that. And then I think everything else kinda goes downstream from there, really. I think in a marriage, like, I think sex life's incredibly important. It's
absolutely,
incredibly important, and
yeah,
it breaks my heart hearing about all these stories about people that just kinda live in marriages like that. And, you know, things kind of happen in seasons, right?
mhm,
But I think for that one, it was, like, really, like, hard, and we ended up, sticking together probably a little over, like, more than a year or so. And at that point, it was really like we did couples therapy together. And then I started to go to this therapist that I saw for a while. And I think for me, I was just like, well, at this point, you know, I just got to do the best I can to like get on the path myself.
mm,
And that's kind of what I came to terms with. Cause really in that come to Jesus moment, for me, like I just felt like I was stripped of everything, but Christ was there for me. I remember praying to him when I was in this moment where I didn't want to go on, and he was there. And I talk about it, but I'm big like I can visualize things pretty well. Like I have a pretty vivid like memory and stuff. And I just remember I felt like I was like drowning in a river, and I was praying to God, and he was a boulder,
Mm.
and I hit the boulder that hurt, but I was alive, and I
Yeah.
think that was a big point for me that I lock onto a lot. I think about it almost every day in some certain way, just a reminder to me. But that gave me just hope in myself, just to say, hey, you're loved, you're valued, you still have a life to live regardless of what happens, regardless of if this marriage works or not. Like you still have a life you can live, and let's make the best out of your life that you have.
Yeah.
And
So that was a kind of turning point then, wasn't it?
yeah, I think so because I think for me, like with porn recovery, I mean, I think a big part of it that really helps people is having like a purpose, right? Like
Mhm.
we talk about in recovery a lot, like what's your why? Like why are you choosing to live a different way than you've lived for a lot of your life?
Mm.
Like what's in it for you? And I think my ultimate why that always helps me is that, I'm a child of God, and that I'd like to do my best to glorify him in my actions and how I live my life. And when I have porn in it, I'm not doing that. I'm disconnecting from that.
Mm.
So I think that was a big foundation for me. And again, it's not like I had some relapses after that, but I think that was something it's always stuck in my mind as something I can like latch onto
Yeah.
when because maybe there are going to be moments in my life moving forward that are going to be just as bad. Who knows, right? Like there's going to be things that are going to happen, but I think for me, I definitely at that point, it was reclaiming my life. It was
Yeah.
reclaiming my sense of identity to say, hey, you can be that person that you always thought you were.
Yeah. And because so you can kind of look at the addiction as, like I said, the dark side. So if you think of like turning to Jesus and your faith as the light, so you've turned
Mhm.
towards the light, and the light, the way I look at things is the light will always kill the darkness. The light will always win. So you could say, you've got Jesus on one side, the devil on the other, if you like. So Jesus will always win over the devil because Jesus is the light and the devil is the dark. So, but you're still going to get at times, like you say, especially like maybe, I mean, do you ever feel when you're feeling down, when you have a bad day, for example, or when you're not feeling well, do you think to yourself at any point, right, okay, well, I'll go back to porn because that's what will make me happy again? Or have you got the strength now to say, no, actually, that's not the path I want to go down?
Yeah, I think of it like I have this giant fortress that I
Mm.
build, and
Mm.
it's a constant process. I think of making sure I'm looking at all the weak points of it. So I think when to answer your question, yeah, more of the latter. I think as you go in recovery, uh, I think your sobriety, because recovery and sobriety are different things, right? Like recovery is like your mindset of where you're going. Like you're
Mm.
going north instead of south. It doesn't mean necessarily all the time you're going to have sobriety. Like you're going to have relapses where you might go back to it. But yeah, I think for me, it would take me having a really, 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 really bad day to be really in that spot. We call it like the red. We kind of use a
Mm.
stoplight analogy where it's green, yellow, red. And really, like the important part is just calling out what the yellow activity is. I mean, that's really
Mm.
the big thing with recovery is being honest with yourself. Like I check in every day with my little brother. We check in what the yellows are. You could still be in the green and being doing pretty well, but if you start to overlook some of your behavior that could lead into something else,
Mm.
like even like if I'm on the internet too long, it's not like I'm even looking at anything that's triggering, but if I'm just in there too long, for me, I'm like, okay, that's more yellow because I'm putting myself more in the position to be more susceptible to it. Um, but yeah, I think answering your question fully, yeah, it's more of those thoughts come in.
Mm.
You have intrusive thoughts sometimes. Like I was saying earlier, I have a pretty vivid memory. We actually were doing this in our recovery group this week. My mentor brought up this TED talk that his wife shared with him. It wasn't even about porn, but it was about people that have vivid memories and how some people can recall things in their imagination very clearly. Some people, it might be black or it might be very, like, maybe it doesn't happen that way.
Mm.
For me and my little brother, like, we're really on the side of the spectrum where we can picture things pretty well. And I think that, that can be tough when you're dealing with porn because those thoughts can come in. They can just come in sometimes, and still happens to me a lot. It's more of how do you deal with it? How
Mm.
do you and I think for me, I just let it pass. I just let
Yeah.
it pass. I sit in it. I think that's the thing that porn trains us to do at a young age is, like, not to sit in our emotions. Rather, "Hey, let me get a quick hit of this dopamine, right? Let
Mm.
me escape. Hey, I'm having a bad day." It used to be, "Hey, I'm bored. Hey, I'm having a bad day. Hey, I'm this. Hey, I'm that." Porn, 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 right? Now it's like, "Okay, I'm having a bad day. Let's get outside. Let's go on a walk." Or,
Mm.
"Hey, let me talk to my little brother. Let me check it in. Let me do something. Let me go to the gym." It's almost like you start to realize there's so many options on the table for you to
Yeah.
where in an earlier stage, you felt like you had no options because of the addiction itself. It starts to, like the Stockholm syndrome, it's like poisoning you and saying, "Hey,
Yeah.
I've got your antidotes right here." Meanwhile, the antidote's like poison, and it's not killing you, like, immediately, but it's slowly getting you addicted to where you feel like, "Okay, this is helping me," because 'cause you're justifying in your head. Like, why would I be using something that's not helping me? That's kinda how your mind thinks.
Yeah.
And then you wake up to it and you say, "This is actually not helping me at all. This is actually hurting me."
Mm.
Um, that's what makes it so dangerous, in my opinion, than other
Yeah.
things. I think we were talking about that last. I really liked this analogy, but it was if you saw, like, a 10-year-old kid drunk on the side of the road
Mm.
or in your home, you'd be really concerned about them,
Yeah.
right? Like, you'd be super concerned. Like, it would be like, we're taking them to hospital. There'd be a level of embarrassment probably for parents being like, "Oh my gosh, like, how did our kid, like, get into alcohol? Like, where did you get it?" All that stuff. I think with porn, it can be that way sometimes, probably with some parents, maybe a lot. I'm not a parent, but I think because of the use of it and it's so widespread, I'd have to venture to say that I think most parents or people probably are just oblivious to it and
Mm.
probably don't know the extent of the use. Or if there is use, being like, "Hey, like, it's embarrassing or you shouldn't be doing that." But not taking it at the same level of concern of some of these other things that I think are more commonplace to think about, like if a young kid or even an adult, you don't even have to use kids, you can use adults, are
Mm.
just out of control with their drinking or, doing drugs, gambling, things like that. Those are things that are more visual to somebody, like, you can see it, like, you can smell
Yeah.
it, um,
Yeah.
all that stuff, right? And with porn, it's like, how do you know if your kid or if your husband or whatever, if they are addicted to this? You don't really know until either, like, A, they come clean about it, which is
Mm.
really difficult to do, extremely difficult because it's probably one of the most, I'd say, embarrassing things,
Mm.
because it's like other things, could be like you could relate. Like if I'd say, like, if I had a buddy that had a drinking problem, I'd be able to be able to kind of like relate to be like, yeah, I've had a few one too many beers myself before or
Mm.
something, right? And it's more, I think it's more culturally probably accepted that that happens. I mean, I know in the UK you guys like your beer too, but I mean, US, I mean, it's like
We
it's
do
like
have our
every other.
reputation. We're not all like that, but yeah.
I know, yeah, yeah. But it's like every other commercial, I feel like in the US, right, is like a beer commercial or something.
Mm.
Whereas it's not like every other commercial is like a porn commercial.
No.
Yet it's so interweaved in our society to where everything is almost sexualized,
It's
right?
like I don't know, it's like a hidden, it's a I can't think what the word is, but it's it's okay. The fact it's just hidden. So as long as you don't bring it out in the open, as long as you keep it to yourself, it's not frowned upon. It's like a like if you're like you say, if you're an alcoholic, then that's frowned upon, but you're offered help, and it's a very visual problem. If you're a gambler, then you're losing money. That's going to be very obvious. And you get help. But when you're addicted to porn, A, it's hard to spot, like you say, and B, it's almost like it's society doesn't like teach you that it's wrong, really, does it? It does when it's out in the open, like with with all the sex trafficking and the Epstein files, which is like the other side of the spectrum,
Right.
that like worst case scenario. But it's only when things like that, when the shit hits the fan, that it comes out, and yeah, oh no, this is really terrible. But when it's quiet, when it's you sat in the dark on your own and nobody knows about it, then it's kind of not frowned upon so much because it's not talked about. It's not talked about.
Yeah, and it's kind of the thing too, right? Because I think what I would say would be the tangible things that you would see would be things that are very personal. That
Mm,
like it's not like you go around to your friends or your family and you talk about your sex life with your wife.
mm,
But, between you and her, you know what the issue is, and it's a hard thing to talk about, right? It's a
mm,
hard thing for people to talk about, to be like, actually, we're not having a lot of intimacy, or, actually, I think David put something in the chat about eye contact, short temper, disinterest, distraction. That's really good. I know
mm,
there's a few things in the chat, but I think I think that's what makes it difficult, right? Because it's really personal. I think the hard thing with porn is it's so personal, right? Like it's literally connected to the orgasm of your body,
mm,
which is like probably one of the most personal things anybody could talk about.
mm,
So I think that's what makes porn so difficult for people is the key of it really is to talk about it and is to get it out in the open. And I think our society, probably worldwide, has a tough time with that. I
yeah.
know in the US for sure, I think we're always trying to keep up with the Joneses. We're always trying to look perfect. We're always trying to, look like we're living our best lives. Um, but meanwhile, I mean, the statistics are crazy. I mean, it's
Mm,
definitely over like 60%, 70% of men probably watch it once a month. Women, it's a little bit lower, but
mm,
it's almost like with porn, it's not, it's like you're more of like the unicorn if you've never watched it, and then you're more on the outside if you are living in recovery and you're
mm,
working on it. Like that's but that stuff too, people don't often wanna talk about that either, like if they're working on recovery.
mm.
I think as it goes, and I'm a little bit different of a cat because I'm like very vocal about it, and I mean, I talked to my grandma about it. Like, I shared her
Right.
podcast,
Yeah.
I'm like, I want
Yeah.
people to know about this because I'm like,
Yeah.
this is important. And as a Christian too, I'm like, this is what we should be doing. We should be talking
Yes.
about the things that we struggle with. We should be praying for each other and supporting each other and having community, with our within our congregation and with the world, leading by example. I'm lucky. So I think someone said they like my hat. So this is actually from my
Oh,
church.
yeah, I saw that part. Yeah.
It's Galatians 1. It's basically free people, which I think is a
Okay.
cool thing that we picked up. But
Yeah.
the thing I liked about my church too is that it's like once a week they talk about porn at least once a week, it seems
Okay.
like.
Yeah.
And I remember the pastor said one time that he was like, he said something to the effect of, I think it was like 70% of like Christian men like watch porn once a month. And then he's like, pastors, it's like 50, 60, something crazy like that. So it's even pastors have problems with it, right? So I think when you put it all together, you look at it, be like, okay, well, I think there's a problem here.
Yeah.
I think there's a problem here, guys. It's a personal problem, but we don't really understand it collectively as a society unless we break the stigma of it and we talk about it. And it's not to condone it or justify it, but it's to be able to call it out and say, hey, so many people are having this relationship. And I think there's a lot of people that have a relationship that don't even think they have a problem. I mean, that was me for like a lot of my life, right? To where I personally knew it was a problem, but I decided to just believe that it wasn't.
Mm.
And I think many people struggle with that. So I think in a way of talking about it, you're able just to get it out in front of there. And at least what I try to do when I talk about it and write about it is I'm not coming from a place of judgment, you know, because I
Well,
lived
you
through it.
you can't, yeah, you can't judge it, can you? Because you've been there.
Yeah, I've
You
been there. Yeah.
understand what people are going through, which
Yeah, and I don't think guys are gonna want to go into recovery if they feel like, if they feel like they're terrible people or
mm,
they feel like they can't be forgiven for something. I mean,
mm,
that's kinda how I felt for a while and internalized it
mm,
was I just felt like, how's my wife gonna love me? Or
mm.
how's she ever gonna trust me again? And, obviously, like, the love tank kinda broke, but, happy to say, I mean, we have a good relationship. We still talk from time to time, check in with each other, and which is just a blessing, like,
Yeah,
thank praise God for that.
yeah, yeah, and, yeah, and I think again, because, like, I keep going back to the dark and the light, but I think, the more we talk about it, the more it's moving out of the darkness into the
Yes.
light, and this is what we want because the more light we can give to it, the less hold that shame's gonna have on it. So that, that vampire that you talk about, it can't hold on anymore because we're now saying, "Look, I see you, and I'm not ashamed anymore. I have this issue and I'm dealing with it." Um, and when I think the thing is, once we know that other people have had the same problem, then we're happier to well, not happier to talk about it, but we're more able to open up and be and show our vulnerability to say, "Yeah, I've made a mess too, and I need to sort this out." And I think because, when you go up to the scales of sex trafficking and all of that involves, there's an awful lot of that is big business. There's loads of money in that. And
$1,000,000
really,
industry.
the person that sits there watching the porn is like the first pawn in the game, aren't they? They're the first point. And if we can start there and break that, then maybe the chain will start to break the other end as well. Would be difficult and take a long
Yeah,
time.
and you see it with a lot of facets, right? Like, if you wanna use the food industry, right?
Mm,
At
mm.
least in America, I mean, I know in the UK, I think we're trying to be more like that to where,
We
"Hey,
have
we're"
more standards than you do. We've still
Yeah.
got issues. We've still got issues.
I mean, I think we removed some dyes from our food and
Mm,
we inverted the food pyramid finally and stuff, but I think about it in that way to where you grow up drinking pop and I mean, gosh, I remember when I go to my grandma's sometimes, I mean, they had and I love them, they're the best. They had a fridge full of Sprite, and this was, like, before Diet Coke, really, so this was, like, the whole enchilada, right? I remember I'd go there and I'd drink, like, 10 of those things as a kid.
mm,
Like, it was crazy, and then just all the junk food and, fast food, all that stuff, right? So, you get conditioned to go to that stuff when you're young, I think, which just really
yeah,
pisses me off when you think about
yeah,
it. Just on a
yeah.
societal level, it's like, why are we doing this? And I
Because
think it's
there's money
because
in it,
of
'cause there's profit in it, and the people
yeah,
making money don't care whether you're sick, because if you're sick, the other side will give you drugs anyway.
exactly, right? So then you think about that with all these different industries that we have, and then the porn industry, I mean, it's a billion-dollar industry,
Mm,
and
mm,
billions of views a month. Like, it's crazy when you compare it to, like Netflix or, what you think people are watching, like, porn's, like, right up there, even
yeah,
probably surpassing them, like, in viewership and stuff like that. So when you think about it that way, it gets so ingrained and you get conditioned to, have it in your back pocket. I mean, literally in your pocket on your phone. And I think that was like a real game changer, I think, with porn because I don't know. I think it might be a generational thing sometimes, but sometimes when I talk to older generations, it's so different, right? Because you all grew up in a different world to where
mm.
it was just a different thing. It wasn't as easily accessible. You had to
No,
go
people
somewhere
had
to
to go
get it.
out and buy videos. They like, they couldn't just get it on the internet, they'd have to actually go and get it from a shop, which
Right, and
takes a
then
bit
you'd have
more
to pay.
courage, isn't it?
Yeah, you'd have to pay for it,
Mm.
hey, maybe somebody in your neighborhood sees you there, like, "Hey, Mac," like, I won't tell like, we don't tell our wives, like, just weird stuff, right? And then, I was really in college, like, really when the iPhone was coming out and, social media was coming out was, like, right when I was going into college, and I think that's, like, when porn, like, really became as more user-generated porn to where, And that's like where Pornhub really got in some really big legal trouble a couple of years ago. They actually had to remove 91% of their site
Wow.
uh, because of the human trafficking, the sexual exploitation component to it, because they weren't verifying whether there was consent in these videos. So crazy story. There's a really good book. It's called Takedown
Okay.
by Lila McElwaite. She actually lives in Colorado. Um, she's the CEO of the Justice Defense Fund, but she was a really big advocate, and she actually got, I think it was Bill Ackman, who's a billionaire. She got kind of him to press on some of these credit card companies that were allowing transactions because they were making a lot of money off of this too. So I think it was like pretty much all of the major credit card companies cut ties with Pornhub. I think it was like 2021 or 2022. And there's still a ton of stuff going on there that they need to be held accountable for. But her
Yeah.
big thing was she called it Trafficking Hub. And that was like a big movement on Twitter, like where she got a lot of movement. And then there was a big New York Times article that was written. I think it was called The Lost Children of Pornhub or something like that. But I think that was a big deal because it broke down the wall there to show that these porn sites, they're really doing illegal stuff. Like it's
Mm.
not just like you're watching porn, like you might be watching somebody getting raped,
Yeah.
somebody
And
being
not realize
trafficked.
it, think it's all, it's just actors.
Yeah, and that's the crazy thing too,
Mm.
because I think we talked about this last podcast, but the analogy of when you're watching porn, there's that component in your mind to say, "Oh, this is just fantasy. Like, this is
Mm.
fake." The crazy thing about porn, though, is that they're actually doing it. Like they're actually having sex. Like they're actually doing. Like it's real. Like it's you're watching it really happen,
Yeah.
and you're simulating it as you're watching it, right? Which is different than if you're watching a movie. It'd be like watching a movie where like the actor actually shoots the other actor with a gun,
Yeah.
and you have a gun while you're watching it, and you're like shooting something with the gun,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
someone's getting stabbed and you're like stabbing like a piece of like meat or something. Like
Yeah.
that's I think that how that connects to the brain. I mean, I don't know if there's any studies on that, but I'd like if there's a scientist listening. I just think that that is like that changed. It was an argument I got in a guy like in a sauna after like working out. Because he was talking about it, and he's like,
Yeah.
well, people aren't like going out killing people like watching like an action movie or whatever. I'm like, yeah, but like if you were actually watching a movie, like let's just say all of our movies that we watch were actually people killing
Mm.
each other, that would really change, I think, the way people consume content and likely the way that they treat other people.
Yeah.
And it's like, why aren't we waking up to this with porn? Is to where we're meant to be with other people, like we're meant to procreate, have families, and we're
Yeah.
seeing I mean definitely in our western societies, right, we're seeing like population for like really the first times, like we're starting to decrease with our population rates, right, like
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
aren't having as many kids, there's more divorces, which I'm a part of.
Yeah.
And so once you start to look at it that way, it becomes a lot bigger and more of a very critical. That's the way I think about it. It's a very critical issue to think about because really it strikes at the heart of humanity in my mind, because I think alcohol is always going to be there. I think people are drinking less, by the way, I think
I think they
statistically.
do. I think in a lot of cases, people, especially in the UK, can't afford to go out drinking so much
Right.
anymore.
Right.
Um,
But hey,
and
porn's free. You can afford that, right?
don't
You got to
say
pay your
that.
internet bill, I guess. Yeah, but that's why it's so
Yeah.
destructive. It's
Yeah.
like you could start to change your habits and say, "Hey, I really gotta stop gambling because I don't have any money left to gamble."
Mm.
Or, "Hey, like, I'm gonna stop buying or I'm just stop going to the bar because it's so expensive."
Mm.
Maybe I'll just get, like, a six-pack or something and have that over the
But
weekend or whatever.
that's what, like, people without the addiction think like that. People that are addicted, they'll
Mhm.
find the money. They'll sell the furniture if they have to buy drink. They'll steal to gamble because they can't help it. They have to do it because, especially with gambling, every time you gamble, this is the big one. This is the one you're going to win, and then you don't. Of course, you lose your
Yeah,
money.
and we
Yeah.
see that too. I mean, there's some really good, writers that talk about gambling,
Mm.
on here, but even that, I mean, you can't watch a sports game without like a ticker at the bottom, or even the commentators saying, "Well, like, the line on this bet is this, or the
Yeah.
odds are this," and
Yeah.
I'm just like, "I just wanna watch the game."
Mm.
I don't care, like, but it's those subtle things, right? It's those subtle things that push you a certain way, or maybe you feel like you're not really a part of the social event because you see these commercials, at least in the US, of, like, DraftKings or these, gambling sites to where, like, everybody's at the bar and, oh, like, everyone put in that bet and they won the bet and everyone's cheering. That doesn't happen. I'm sorry, it doesn't. Maybe, like, 1% of the time or something, right?
Mm.
And then even now, you have these things like Polymarket to where you can actually bet on, like, events. Like, "Hey, is the United States gonna bomb Iran this week?" You can bet on it.
Really? Oh my
Yeah, it's like, "What is going on here?"
God.
So,
Yeah, I
I
wonder how
think
many million people will die this time.
yeah, but it's like one of those things, right, to where, I think whatever your addiction has been or the habit that you broke, the beautiful part about it is it gives you a different perspective to where now you can see kind of
Yeah.
it in a little bit of everything to where you're like, I mean, I don't really watch any TV, but when I do, I just laugh at the commercials because 'cause I'm like, "This is insane.
I know, I don't
Like,
even
this is so
understand
stupid."
half of them. They're crap, they're
Oh,
rubbish.
they're terrible.
I'm sure they weren't like that in my day. Anyway, anyway, so let's go back to your life story then.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you get divorced, you hit rock bottom, start to pull yourself back up, and you buy your RV then?
Yeah, so let's see, we got separated, like, right before Christmas. So I was in my parents' house, and that was just oof, woo, that was tough. Like, that was
Mm,
really hard.
mm. How
I
did
mean,
your
just
parents take it, by the way? How did they take it?
I think they were surprised, but,
Yeah.
you know, they they're great, I'm
Mm,
blessed to have
mm,
really supportive parents. They've
mhm.
been married for close to 40 years, and
Oh,
they've always just been there for me, so I think they were really sad to hear it, because they could see the pain,
yeah.
but I think ultimately, they're like, "Hey, you're our son and we love you," and all that, and I think that was one of the hardest things I think was just telling people about it. I think that, like, telling my grandma was super like, she heard about it, I was in the kitchen, it was during Christmas, and she was wondering where my ex was, and I think, like, my brother told her or something on accident.
Mm,
So I wasn't even in the room, I was in the kitchen, so then I had to go talk to her, and it's just reliving some of that stuff. It gives me fuel to talk about it more,
yeah.
because it was really painful, but, like, I don't wanna hide that, like, I wanna
Mm,
examine it, I want to talk about it because I'm not the only one that's gone through that. I'm sure
mm,
a lot of people gone through worse situations, but yeah, and just seeing, like, the life leave people's faces. I mean, I told all my best friends we were getting dinner, and man, it was crazy. It was just like their faces that went like, "Joof," and, like, their eyes got all teary and,
mhm,
uh, just thinking about that stuff, right? So, that was just really hard. So, that was and it's been a process, really. It's been a process. It's almost like you're grieving like a death,
mhm,
really. Like, that's
mm,
kind of the stages you go through.
mm,
But really, I think, yeah, it was tough, and I definitely had some slides in that period to where, like, I was relapsing and, just really felt like a little bit just, like, holding on to dear life,
yeah.
going through the divorce process was tough. I mean, luckily, we went through mediation, and it was very I mean, if you could talk about a divorce, I mean, it's probably one of the most, like I don't know, like, we just wanted each other to be happy and
Oh,
we didn't wanna screw each other over. So,
no,
like, we're 2 millennials in this world, like, let's
yeah.
just help each other out, and, but it was still so hard, like, just
Mm,
uncharted territory, like, I'd never wish that on anybody. Like, I definitely am gonna get married again, like,
mm.
that's my goal, but going
Did
through that, wow.
is your ex married again?
No,
Do you think you might
no.
get back together again at some point?
No, I don't think so.
No.
No,
Shame.
I think that ship might have sailed,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah,
no, but you
um,
you think about the person still and, you
mm,
know, cheering for them, hoping that they're
yeah,
happy and all that, but, yeah, so basically, it's kinda funny because like, throughout our marriage too, I was like I really, like, wanted to, like, get some land and, I always talked about getting, like, a yurt, So as we're going through the divorce process, I started to really look into different things because I think, saving up and buying a house, having your own house, for me, I'm like, I don't really want to go into an apartment. I'd like to own something if I can.
Yeah.
So really, that kind of started giving me some hope again. Like it gave me something to focus on. I was like, okay, like what's this next phase of my life going to look like? And I think initially I was like, oh, maybe I could get like a tiny home. Maybe get a land with some yurt, like a yurt on it. And then I started to like really get into these YouTube videos where I was watching all these people doing like the RV life thing.
Mm.
And I work remotely, so I started thinking about it. I'm like, that kind of makes sense. I could have my own moving home, and it ended up like really. Yeah, I think looking back on it, like it probably would have been better for me just to maybe wait a little bit, but I'm kind of bad at that. Just like for money and because I was really cash strapped, but I was
Yeah.
able to get a loan, which got about 2 years on, so about 2 years away from being debt free completely,
Right.
which is cool.
That's good.
But yeah, I bought an RV, from a guy named Jesus, actually, which is kinda funny. So on the title,
Long name.
I bought my RV from Jesus. Uh, maybe he probably goes by Jesus, uh but no, so really cool. Like really low miles on it. I think he got it from like an elderly couple, and then his family used it a little bit. But
Mhm.
it's like a newer RV, 2018. It's a Thor Freedom Elite, so it's like a 32-foot RV, so it's kind of long.
Mm.
And then I got a Jeep last year. I can pull behind it. But for a while, I had an electric bike. I still have that, but that was like my second mode of transportation when I went on my initial trips. But I think for me, it was just something to be like, hey, like this is completely uncharted water. Let's do something different.
Mm.
Like this is like the perfect opportunity to do something like this to where instead of like jumping back into it, because I think sometimes people just jump right back into a relationship or something. And I remember my aunt told me something really meaningful. And uh, I have a few like relatives that have gone through divorces and they were awesome. Like they just gave me like the best advice. Like I'm blessed beyond belief. I have such good family, like family and friends, like, gosh, how amazing, what a blessing it is to have people that are supportive of you and that love you.
Yeah.
But I think she said
Oh,
some
yeah.
I think she had a previous marriage that wasn't great, and then her and my uncle been married for a while, and she was saying that, you don't wanna get back into a relationship because oftentimes you're gonna, like, get with somebody that's similar, and you're gonna,
Mm.
like, try to fix it
Mm.
without, like, fixing yourself first.
Yeah.
So, I really took that to heart, and I was like, "Okay, well, a great way to start working on myself is to, like, go on an adventure, with my dogs," and
Mm.
so, when I got my RV, did a few, like, mountain trips and stuff, and then my big trip was I went down to, the Florida Keys with my RV from Colorado.
Right.
Um, got a really good friends, one that I've known since kindergarten, they're in college, and every, year, we try to at least go once or twice to go see my buddy down in Florida, and, he is a huge fisherman, he has a boat now, which I was actually down there a few months ago, and we went deep sea fishing, like, about 15 times out of the 30 days I was there, which is amazing. But, that was kind of like my first, like, big trip was, going down to the Florida Keys, and it was really cool. Like, we had, 4 dudes packed into this RV. Think we got into a food fight one night, and I had to remind them that this is my home, but
Yeah.
it was fun. We just watched crappy 1980s movies and, reminisce about things, went fishing, caught some big fish, and
Mm.
that was just so cool, it was really needed, and I feel like, and I saw a lot of people on the way. My mom's side's from Ohio, and, so the cool thing about the RV for me, and this plays into the recovery aspect of it, but I was able to chart my trip by people that I know that I haven't seen in a while. And that was something that I think if I was married still, maybe I wouldn't have really even seen these people
Yeah.
for, like, decades or whatever. And instead on this trip, I'm like, "Okay, well, I'll stay by your guys' place for a bit," and I was able to see, like, my cousin out there who's my age, and we were a part of this, like, hillbilly Burning Man thing. It is crazy. So maybe I'll post about it sometime, but she's got these friends that have, like, 80 acres of land in
Wow.
Ohio,
Yeah.
and the guy has, like, 2 lakes, uh and these guys are all in construction, so they're, like, really smart at, like, building things, so they built, like, a slide out of, like, this corrugated, like, tube, that you'd use for construction. They had like a water pump, like pumping water down it.
Right.
They built like a high dive, a zip line, and then they had one of these things. I don't know if you've ever seen them, but they're called oh, what are they called? You get in the water, and you strap your feet to this thing. It's called like a flyboard, I think, and it's
Right.
connected to a jet ski. So when the jet ski goes, it propels water and it shoots you up in the air. So you're like 15 feet in the air, like flying. So I
God.
was doing that. So, anyways, that was kind of how I started off my trip. Was it was like a 4 day party. Every day was a different theme, and it was like hundreds of people would show up, and everyone knew each other, so everyone was cool. And that was kind of like a me kind of just getting into myself. And it was really interesting. One time, it was her neighbor. We were hanging out at this party, and I kept like changing my outfit, changing my hats, and he's like, "Hey, just be you, like just be you,
Yeah.
man." And
Yeah.
it was kind of interesting. It was kind of stuck with me because I think I was like just trying to figure out like what Mac I was gonna be.
Yeah.
Like trying. I'm like,
Who
who
you
am
are.
I?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
which
Who
Mac
am
am
I
I?
now kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But yeah, so I went on this trip, and I like saw like my childhood best friend. Like we were born like a day apart, and our dads played college basketball together. He
Mhm.
lives out in Tennessee, so was able to go to Nashville and hang out there. So it was really cool. Like just I had a great time because I just stop in these different cities. I'd be working the whole time right on the road. But then on the weekends, I'd go see like where the live music was at. I'd just go talk to people. Like I'm a very outgoing person. So I found myself talking to a lot of strangers about life and just getting into these really deep conversations, which I really enjoy. And I think that's the tough part with the marriage too, is like when things were kind of bitter and hard, it was hard to like have those kinds of conversations.
Mm.
I think that's why I enjoyed the podcast so much and like talking to you and stuff is because you're just able just to talk and like to express yourself and express your feelings and dive into things. There's not judgment. It's just like you're just talking about ideas and what you think about stuff. And I was really able to get that energy out when I was traveling.
Good.
And it helped me, I think, just recreate myself and in a way reconnect with myself and reconnect to the things that I really like to do. Like I fished a ton. I love music. I love to dance. So there was a lot of that. Nashville's great, kind of a crazy
Mhm.
place, but the
Mm.
music there was phenomenal.
Brilliant.
And yeah, so that's kind of like how it started after that.
Mm. So where and now you're back home again at your what, near your parents?
Yeah, so my parents they have a little slot where I can park my RV. So
Okay.
I was on a it was about 3 or 4 months. I went so just a quick part. I waited for about a year and then I started to go on some dates just to see. Met an amazing woman. Still talk to her. Our relationship ended back in July. I just wasn't really ready.
Mm.
I think there was still some things because I think with divorce, like at least for me, and like looking at just how devastating it was, it gives you a little bit of pause with some of that stuff. Because like for me, I'm like, okay, there's still stuff like I want to really shore up in my life, like finances and just this identity that I'm building, right? And, that was an interesting part was being in a relationship with this amazing woman. We were in a relationship for close like a year and a half,
Okay.
and, first porn-free relationship of my life,
Wow.
and
Okay.
what a change.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Oh my gosh. It was crazy.
mm.
Crazy. Just the amount of connection that we had and, not hiding things, and I think it was like our 4th or 5th date I talked to her about my podcast because
Mhm.
I think when I date, I know that I'm gonna have to talk about my divorce, right?
Yeah.
And there's a sense of confidence to where I can talk about it and say, "Yeah, this is why. This is what I'm doing about it."
Mm.
Like, this
Yeah.
is how I've used that part of my life to help people,
And that's
and,
good 'cause you're upfront
yeah.
about it straight away, so straight out the gate, they know, so they can't
Yeah, maybe
say,
not
"I'm
first date,
empty."
but
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, maybe not the first but at some
Yeah,
point.
first date, they're like,
Yeah,
"What?"
yeah. So what do you do? "Oh, yes, we'll see about
Yeah, what do you do? Yeah, but no, so that I was a little bit more local when we were dating,
Mm,
staying at, like, state parks and stuff like that, and, that was a lot of fun too. I mean, Colorado is such a beautiful state, there's so
yeah.
much to do out here. But yeah, so basically, I when we broke up, I very quickly decided I was gonna leave on another trip, very spur of the moment,
Mm.
with, like, barely any planning. Uh, I'm a big, like, Ron Paul he's a politician, a guy from Texas, and he was turning 90, so they were having a birthday party for him in Texas, and, there's still tickets available to go, and I'm
Yeah.
like, "Why not?" You know, like, "Why not?" Like, I wanna do this, so that's kinda what I did was, it was over the summer, of 2025 I think it was, like, late July, it was when I left Colorado, and just hit the road again. I was, like, working from rest stops off the road and, staying at different spots, but it was really cool. My RV, there was a really neat it was in Lake Jackson, Texas, but there was this, RV park that's right on the ocean, like, literally. Like, it's sandy, but it's not the sand you sink in, but, uh, and right next to it was, like, this, like, bar where they had live music. So, like, literally, when I pulled in there, they're playing live music, and literally I keep saying literally, you have to walk over a bridge that's 50 feet away from the RV, and you're on the ocean.
Wow. Cool.
And that to me was just another good reset of, "Hey, you had a great relationship, but there's still, like, some questions that you're asking yourself." I think some spiritual stuff too. But, I went to Florida again over the summer to see my buddy. He bought a fishing boat, right? So, that was another, like, destination for me to was like, "Okay, let's go to Florida." But on the way, yeah, I went to New Orleans. I've never been to New Orleans before. I really
Mhm.
wanted to go there. Like, the music and the food was
Yeah.
fantastic. And, yeah, made my way to Florida, and then on the way back is really cool, actually. There's a guy that I've done a few podcasts with, Dr. Gregory Boris. He's a professor at the University of Arkansas in Monticello. He's a philosophy and English professor. He also teaches film. So every Halloween, we start this tradition where we do, like, a Halloween episode of Porn Free Millennial. The first one was, me and his best friend that's also he's like a dean of a charter school. We talked about porn as a vampire, and that's actually the most downloaded episode,
Mm. Oh,
that
wow,
I
yeah.
have. It was really cool, and so this time we actually we talked about the movie Psycho
Mhm.
and Hitchcock's, we analyzed it, and it was really
Mm.
cool. So I actually met him in person. He lives in the woods, and
Oh,
then
wow.
where we filmed the podcast was actually where Bill Clinton used to go, like, shoot guns and stuff. There's, like, this which is a whole 'nother thing. I'm like, maybe we sanctified that place a little bit, by doing this podcast there. Like, who knows what happened there, what bodies are there. But, no, it's like the property he's on is, like, in the woods, and there's, like, a lake house there. But it was really cool. We watched Psycho, outside. My RV has an outdoor TV, so we literally I was in a hammock and he was in, like, my camping chair, and we just watched the movie, and watching a movie with a film professor is so cool because
Yeah.
he would, like, he'd be like, "Alright, pause it." He's like, "You see that? This is what this means." And at one point, there's this scene where I think it's, like, the detective, and they're in the sporting goods store, and there's all these knives, like, on the wall, like, pointing
Mm.
towards him,
Mm.
and he's like, "What do you think that means?" I'm like, "Don't spoil it." He's like, "I'm trying to teach you how to watch film." But, that was just a cool opportunity, right? To where with the RV, I
Yeah.
was able to actually, like, meet somebody that I've done some podcasts with, that I've built a relationship with, able to meet him and his wife. I stayed there for a week, took them out to dinner. He toured me around his college, and, like, we walked through all the classrooms, and I'm like, that what a cool opportunity that is. So I think that for me has been a great way of rebuilding my confidence in my life is,
Mm.
hey, I can turn this porn free millennial thing into creating connections with people. And
Yeah.
I mean, gosh, I've talked to so many different people too, like yourself, like from your background in business. I mean, I've
Yeah.
talked to pastors, I've talked to like the last podcast I had was a medieval art historian.
Yeah.
Uh, and that's the way I see my podcast. Really, it's not just like these 10-minute, like, this is what you need to do to quit porn. It's more of just talking to people that maybe they had a relationship with porn or maybe not. But I just think the more perspectives you can draw in, the more angles you can take on it, the more you can just have conversations with people. And
Yeah.
I think that just kind of opens the door just for people listening to think about it. And maybe if they're an artist or something and I interview an
Yeah.
artist.
There's
Like, they
something
might be
else
like,
that comes
"Oh,
yeah,
yeah."
there's something else that comes to mind as well, because, like, for somebody, who has never watched porn, doesn't know anything about porn, then you're showing those people that it's not, you're not some sleazeball that sits in the cupboard. You you are a normal
Right.
guy doing normal things, and you just had that issue, which you're now working on, which is what porn addicts, like, I would say 99% of them probably are the same. But somebody that doesn't, there's a lot of people that don't understand and think, well, this is like a nasty little thing. And if you're going to tell me that, just go away. I don't want to know about it. You're showing that you are a normal guy having doing normal things.
Yeah, and I think sometimes people get sex addiction mixed up with porn addiction,
Absolutely.
because yeah, I never was, like, addicted to sex, but I was addicted to porn to where,
Mm, mm,
porn's a very inward thing, like,
mm,
because the people say the word acting out is a common phrase, it's more of like acting in, you're acting inward, uh, where with I think a lot of people think that, like, porn addicts are like sex addicts and that,
mm,
like, they just wanna have sex with everybody. And
mm,
it's like, well, you're right in a certain sense, but not in the way that you think it is. Like you're kind of having sex with everybody, but you're more kind of doing it with yourself, if that makes sense. To where it's more of an inward action of I think it's an isolating thing and it builds on itself, right? So the more you do it, the more isolated you feel because when the dopamine receptors start to get dulled, you start to seek more stuff, which I think increases the level of shame because then you
mm,
see something that
mm,
is far outside what you would ever participate in your life, right?
mm.
Like, I would never be a part of a lot of things that I've viewed before, like, I would never do that in real life.
No.
Yeah, even being in Colombia, like, I wasn't interested. Even being in the place really where I mean, gosh, if you could think of a place to go to see, like, the most beautiful women in the world, I mean, that's gotta be one of them.
Yeah.
And still, like, there, it wasn't like that was a big temptation for me because for me, it was more of a I'm more of an inward temptation to
Mm,
where I'm more gonna act in versus actually, like, being tempted to, like, cheat on my wife or something, if that makes sense. But the
yeah.
same sense, I think of it in the same way as cheating. It's just, um, you think that there's less weight to it, and maybe there is in a way. I think it's more manageable, like, where you can actually work through it to where
Your
if you
wife
actually cheat.
possibly didn't see it that way, though.
Totally. Yeah, yeah, but, like, I think if you actually physically did that with somebody,
Yeah.
it's a lot different of a story,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I think personally, if I can treat it the same way in my life, like, in my past my most recent relationship where I was porn free, I took it a lot more seriously.
Mm,
That's, like, why that there was so many great moments there to where there was never those moments of, like, feeling like I really let her down or
mm.
I was lying to her. Which really allows for so much better of a time,
Yeah. Yeah.
where you're just like, you're not, like, playing from behind, and
Mm.
you're a team. I think that's an important thing in marriage, right? In relationships is you feel like you're on the same team with somebody, like,
Yeah.
you're helping each other and you're
Yeah.
not undermining each other.
Yeah. You should both be on the same level. Definitely. Definitely. Two individuals that want to live together. That's the way I look at marriage.
Yeah, and, like, live together as in it's not just you're physically living with each other, but you're
Mm.
together in a lot more of a connected way,
Yeah.
spiritually,
Yeah.
mentally, physically, emotionally, all that stuff. I think when those are clicking, and there's always going to be disagreements or fights, things like that. But I think porn is like a multiplier to when that's involved. It's
Yeah.
almost like I think David mentioned it earlier, but you just get more irritated. And I used to get so irritated at things, and I think porn too. I think it gives men a certain complex on how they treat women. I
Mhm.
definitely saw that a lot in my life to where
Right.
I treated women differently because I kinda had, like, that porn brain to where I just was very dismissive or, "Hey, I only wanna be friends with you because, like, I think you're really attractive or something."
Yeah.
Um, versus I think, with my mind now, I just see people so much differently to where, like, I'm interested in you. Like,
Yeah.
I'm interested in you. Like, I think you see, like, the beauty in people and you're cheering for them, like, you're rooting for them, like, you wanna be connected with people.
Yeah.
you're thinking about others. I think porn can get us into this mindset where we're really selfish and we're just thinking about ourselves because really it's like, I think I talked about this in our last podcast, but like when I had that relapse before I went on that bachelor party, like visually, I felt like I was like burying like a body in our backyard, you
Yeah.
know, and that can really weigh on you just in day to day life. Like if you're going to go
Mhm.
on a vacation or going on date night or just hanging out with each other, like that's going to weigh in the back of your mind if you have like a conscience, and you're not um and you're not impressed by your behavior, that's going to weigh on you.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that, Edgar Allan Poe poem, and I might mess it up, but it's the one I think where the person's, like, buried in the wall,
Mhm. Mhm.
if you remember that one,
I
and
do.
there's, like, a ticking sound or
Yeah.
something,
Yeah.
and it just drives the guy crazy to where isn't there, like, an inspector, like, a detective or something that thinks the person murdered the person, and
Yeah.
they're trying. Oh, The Raven, okay, I knew I was gonna mess it up. I have a Poe book that I just bought, um which I'll show real quick. But and then I've got
Oh, brilliant. Yeah. He
but I need to be better
yeah.
on my post stuff.
Yeah.
It's kind of
He
funny.
was a very interesting guy.
Yeah, but, like, to the effect of that, right? Like, this person just it's the shame of it or, like, what
Yeah.
you did, and you're trying to hide it, but you
Yeah.
just know because it makes things so complicated when you're trying like, you could talk about the Epstein files, right? Just it's impossible to lie about because it's just out there, and the more you lie about it, the more silly you look.
Absolutely. It's
And, like,
not
the more
stopping
people
people
are
lying about it though, but yeah, you're
yeah,
right.
and on a smaller level, it's like that's kind of with porn, I think, is, like, you're just trying to divert or,
Yeah.
"Hey, let's talk about the stock market," instead of talking about, my porn problem,
Yeah.
or, "Look
Yeah.
over there."
Yeah.
Uh, but it gets to a point to where it really just weighs on you, like, where because the longer you wait, it's almost like the more painful it's gonna be, because all those experiences that you share with somebody but it happened to me one time. It's like I went on a trip with my ex one time to Florida, and I think I got triggered by just a really attractive woman on the beach, and it just stayed in my mind, like preoccupation.
Mhm.
I think I ended up, watching porn, like, in the bathroom, and it was just, like, later, a few weeks later when it came out, it just felt like that whole trip, all the great time we had together, it just felt like that was tainted,
Mm.
those experiences, and I think that's what happens in life is, it can really taint those experiences to where you spend all this time together and all this love and everything's great.
Yeah.
But if you haven't come to terms yet and paid that debt off, it's still there and it's going to have to be paid off at some point. And the
Yeah.
more you wait, the more weighty it gets
The
heavier.
darker, yeah, the dark starts to take over you. Yeah. Yeah. So what's next for you then?
Oh, David said the telltale heart.
Aw.
Thanks for being on. Yeah, I got to brush up on my Poe.
Oh, you
Well,
gotta go. Thank you for being here, David. It's always lovely to see you.
can I share one funny story about Edgar Allan Poe and then
Yeah.
I'll talk about
Oh,
what's
yeah,
next?
yeah, do. I am actually really interested in him. I think he's brilliant.
Okay, so
Brilliantly weird. Yeah.
this is kind of an inside joke
Yeah.
that I'll let you guys in on. But when I first bought my house, I was making trips from like Denver to Colorado Springs to, start to get things ready because we are going to do all this work on it. And the crawl space area was big enough to like where you could walk in it kind of crouched. And I was in there and I saw something at like the very back of it. And I was looking at a dark object and I was like, that's kind of weird. So I went over and it was like this Edgar Allan Poe, like, it looked like it was made like in the 1900s. It was like a doll
Ooh.
and it was stuck on a rat like a sticky rat trap. And, okay, just put yourself in like, you just saved up all this money, you just bought this house, and then you see a creepy doll
Oh my
in
god,
the
I
back.
hate dolls anyway. I do not like
Yeah.
dolls.
So, I'll have to post some pictures of it. I took some pictures of it, but, it kinda freaked me out. So, I started to back up from it, and my back hit the light bulb, and the light bulb blew up. So then it all went dark. And I
Oh,
was
it
literally
moved
like,
out
"This
then.
is the way I'm gonna die. This is how it happened." So I remember saying a prayer, I was like I was like, "Please protect me." but I think it was like the people that lived there were like weird, kind of like interesting, like theater people.
Right.
And I think their daughter, she like left some stuff there, I think, to like kind of spook
Mhm.
us, which was kind of weird.
Okay.
I'm like, why would you do that?
That's
Like
right.
messed up. But I kind of get now in the horror movies, like why they stay in the house. I'm like, yeah, like
Yeah.
we got a 2.9% interest rate. Like we're not leaving here. But no, I think what's next for me. So I think definitely been working on just getting more like stability in my life with like physical fitness and going to church, getting involved there. I my church hosted it's Flatirons Church in Colorado. They hosted this they're pretty involved with the community with like helping fight against human trafficking and stuff. And
Yeah, you said that last time, yeah.
yeah, I wrote an article about it and I just
Yeah.
got an email back last night from one of the people there, one of the directors, and I'm going to see if I can have them on the podcast. But and then get involved personally with volunteering.
Mm.
So I think where it goes for me is I think with Corn Free Millennial is just to continue to have on guests to talk about things, collaborate with people like yourself,
Yeah.
continue writing. Like I have a basically like a Monday newsletter, which it's not really like a newsletter. It's more of I could typically try to share somebody's article, and then on the days where I don't, it's just like a reflection.
Mm.
So and then I have a so basically with that, just to continue doing that. I like writing poetry, so it's just continuing writing, continuing podcasting. And then, I do coaching as well, personal coaching.
Mhm.
So if people are interested in that, reach out to me. Typically what I'll do is like a 30-minute to an hour Zoom call for free. We can just talk through stuff, see if it's a good fit. Then paid subscribers actually get, I believe it's a 15% discount on coaching.
Okay.
Uh, 15 or 20, I'll have to check. And then founding members, they get a 25% lifetime discount on coaching,
Wow,
and
okay.
then they get 3 free sessions. Because I just wanna give back, I'd
Yeah.
like to I think moving forward, I'd like to make this more of, like, a full-time thing, but I know that's gonna take a little bit of time.
Yeah.
The neat part is, like, my mentors and coaches that I've worked with before, have shown that they mainly do it, like, full-time where they're coaching and they're podcasting, they're helping people, and I'm just so passionate about it, so I think that is, like, a big goal for mine, but I know that's gonna take some time. Um, but yeah, really besides that, I think, just getting the RV ready. I've gotta fix my generator. It conked out, like, in the middle of the summer and, when I was traveling, so I've gotta figure that out, but I'd like to probably, I'd say, like, March, April. Uh, I've got a cousin that I really love. He's in, Arizona, so I think I'd like to go down there for like a month or 2 and just I mean, I love Arizona. It's got so much cool like the desert's just super neat, and I've been
Yeah.
praying about it for a while. I feel like God's telling me like you should go down there. So I'm trying to see like what that means for me.
Mhm.
But really besides that, I think just stay in Colorado probably through the summer. I like to hunt and fish. So I'll probably go turkey hunting with my buddy, probably before I leave Colorado actually to Arizona. And then I go elk hunting with my dad every November. That's kind of why I came back a few months ago was for that. And then the holidays, just being around family. But
Mhm.
really, I think it's just moving forward. It's just a daily basis of just reintegration and renewal and uh, just doing my best, I think, just to put a relatable face on recovery.
Yeah.
Like I'm not the face of recovery, clearly, but I think I can add to the conversation and be somebody that's like relatable, somebody that's going through it, with you, somebody that might come at it from a different angle to where it's less conventional.
Mhm.
It's more of I like just to talk about things that are more philosophical and stories and uh, let people talk about what their perspectives are
Yeah.
rather than prescriptive A, B, C, D things. Like
Yeah, like,
I'm
you
just
should
that's
do this and you should do that. No,
yeah, it's just not really my side of the brain. And
no.
I
Yeah,
think for everybody, it's a little bit different, right, on how
yeah,
they approach it.
yeah. Okay, brilliant. Right, well, I think we need to do another one of these. I love talking to you. This is so interesting. I am running out of battery, and we've been on for nearly an hour and a half, you know.
Yeah, I'd like to have you on because I think it'd be good for my audience also to
Okay.
hear.
Yeah.
I mean, confidence, right? That's a huge word, and I love that you have that as a focus because I think confidence is a big thing, and I think a lot about the younger people in the world, and my heart really goes out to them too. Like, that's a lot of the times when I'm talking and I'm thinking
Mm,
about things I'm writing, I'm thinking about, like, my nephews and my niece. Like, I'm thinking about the younger generations and,
yeah.
can they hear some people a little bit ahead of them that are able to put a truthful light on it and something that makes sense to
Mm.
where they can start to think about it as they're growing up.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we'll definitely do more together. I've made a decision this week to write another book. I've written one book, but I'm writing another one. The first one I wrote, was during lockdown when I didn't really know what I was doing. But this I'm gonna write a book, based on intentional living. So I'm bringing confidence into living with intention, so thinking about what you're doing. So yeah, I'll be working on that for the rest of the year, and so a lot of my posts will be in that direction now, so
Okay.
more about that. So
I like that. That's cool.
yeah. Yeah. Okay. Right. Well, my battery, like I say, is rapidly running out. So it's been lovely talking to you again. And thank you to everybody that's been here. And I know there's been a lot of comments that we have probably haven't addressed. So if anybody wants to put a comment in the comments, when the replay comes out, that would be great.
Love
But
it.
yeah, otherwise, yeah, have a good rest of the day and I will speak to you again soon.
Bye,
Okay.
Sue. Bye,
Take
everybody.
care. Bye everybody.